In a small, peaceful village where green hills kissed the sky and tall trees swayed with the wind, lived a man named Ragav. A humble farmer, his hands were rough from toil, but his heart, it was gentle, kind, and full of love. Every morning, as the sun rose, Ragav worked tirelessly in his fields, planting vegetables, tending grains, nurturing the land that had given him so little. Yet he was content. Every day he found happiness in simplicity and gratitude in the smallest of blessings. His world revolved around Mira, his loving wife, and Arav, their curious young son. To Ragav, they were everything, the very reason his heart beat with hope and purpose. But one day, while digging near an old tree to plant some seeds, Ragav's shovel struck something solid. Curious, he dug deeper until his hands trembled and his eyes widened in disbelief. Buried beneath the earth was a small iron box filled with gold coins, shining as if they held the sun within them. His heart raced, pounding in his chest. He looked around, the thrill of discovery flooding him with a strange, dizzying hope. Carefully, he closed the box and carried it home, unaware that this small treasure would soon change everything.
That night, Ragav revealed the treasure to Mira. Her eyes widened, not with excitement, but with fear. "Ragav, this gold is not ours. It must belong to someone else. What if it brings trouble?" But Ragav, his mind clouded with a new, unfamiliar fire, shook his head. "No, Mira, this is our chance," he said, voice trembling with hope. "No more hunger, no more struggle. We can live a better life." From that day, everything began to change. Ragav's heart, once content with simple joys, now raced with desire. He stopped working in the fields, spending his days dreaming of riches he had never known. New clothes, lavish furniture, the world he had never imagined was now within his grasp. The villagers were surprised by his sudden wealth, their whispers following him through the streets. When asked about his fortune, Ragav would simply smile and say, "It is luck. God has blessed me." But behind that smile, a seed of greed had quietly taken root. At home, Mira became silent, her heart heavy with longing for the simple, happy days they once shared. And little Arav, he felt the absence of his father's warmth. Bedtime stories, laughter, and gentle games were replaced by coins and endless counting. Ragav was no longer the man he used to be. Days turned into weeks, and Ragav's life transformed completely. The man who once rose with the sun to tend the fields now spent hours in his house, surrounded by shining coins and treasures he barely knew how to count. He bought fine clothes that shimmered in the sunlight. The walls of his home gleamed with new furniture, and the air smelled of luxury he had never dreamed of. Every day brought new indulgence, every thought consumed by wealth. Yet something essential quietly slipped away. The villagers watched in awe and suspicion. They whispered among themselves, curious about this sudden fortune. But Ragav, now proud and distant, simply smiled and said, "It is luck. God has blessed me." Yet behind that smile, greed quietly tightened its hold. At home, silence had replaced laughter. Mira's eyes grew sadder with each passing day, mourning the simplicity and warmth of the past. And little Arav, once full of joy and wonder, now watched his father from afar, longing for the stories and games that had vanished along with the fields. Ragav no longer played with his son or shared tender moments with his wife. His days and nights were consumed by counting gold and scheming for more, blind to the love that had once been the true treasure of his life. One evening, as shadows grew long across the village, a frail old beggar appeared at Raghav's door. His clothes were torn, his face weary, and his eyes heavy with hunger. "Please, just a piece of bread." But Ragav, consumed by pride and selfishness, shouted back, "Go away! I am not running a charity!" The old man paused, looking deeply into Raghav's eyes. His voice trembled with quiet wisdom. "Be careful of greed, it never ends well." Then, without another word, he slowly shuffled away into the night. That night, Ragav lay awake, haunted by the beggar's words. The shadows in his room seemed heavier, the silence louder. But greed, that relentless, burning desire, was stronger than fear. The next morning, driven by greed, Ragav returned to the old tree, hoping to unearth more gold. He dug tirelessly, hours slipping by, but there was nothing, only dry soil and cold, unyielding stones. Days turned into weeks, and slowly Raghav's gold began to vanish. He had spent too freely, trusted the wrong people, and made careless choices. Friends drifted away, and the villagers who once praised him now whispered behind his back. At home, Mira grew weak and sick, her spirit weighed down by grief. Little Arav, too young to understand fully, cried each night, watching his mother suffer and his father lost to greed. And so, the wealth that had promised freedom and happiness had turned into nothing, leaving only sorrow and regret in its place. One rainy evening, Ragav sat beneath the old tree, cold and drenched. The wind whispered through the branches as if nature itself was trying to console him. Tears streamed down his face as he looked up at the dark, heavy sky. "I was a fool. I had love, peace, a happy family, and I lost it all because of my greed." In that moment, Ragav understood the true treasure he had once held. Gold had promised him everything, yet it had taken away the most precious things of all. From that day onward, he vowed never to chase wealth at the cost of love or family. He returned to the fields, working harder than ever, with a heart full of care for Mira and Arav. Slowly, the villagers began to respect him again, not for money, but for his honesty, humility, and effort. Ragav had found a wealth far richer than gold. And in time, peace returned to the little home under the hills where love, gratitude, and simple joys became the treasures of their lives once more.